Well, hello, my friends. Welcome back to Embrace the Question. This is Genesis chapter 45 on Bible Study with me. This is actually our 50th session in Genesis. Can you believe that? 50. Have you kept up? Have you managed to watch all of the videos? Because if you have, I would consider you a fairly good source of information about Genesis. You should probably be leading a Bible study in Genesis at this point. This is the big reveal. This is the moment that Joseph decides to reveal his identity to his brothers. If you haven't been following up with these latest videos, you might want to skip back one or two and grab a little bit of context for this chapter so that it makes more sense to you. But this is the moment. It seems like Joseph has been dragging this out forever. And really, he has. But this is the moment he can't take it any longer. And we posed the question last week. Did he do this because he gets some satisfaction out of making his brothers uncomfortable? I don't doubt that he is getting a little satisfaction out of that. But I also really believe that Joseph is following the Lord's instruction here to test his brothers, because there needs to be a trust reestablished, and there needs to be a maturity that's shown by his brothers that sold him into slavery. And we've had that. We've gotten to that point. So now we have Joseph who can't take it any longer. Are you ready? Let's take a look at how this pans out. All right, let's start. Genesis 45, verse 1. Then Joseph could not control himself before all those who stood by him. He cried, "Make everyone go out from me." So no one stayed with him when Joseph made himself known to his brothers. He chased all the Egyptians out of the room. That's a bit interesting. Verse 2. And he wept aloud, so that the Egyptians heard it, and the household of Pharaoh heard it. And Joseph said to his brothers, "I am Joseph. Is my father still alive?" But his brothers could not answer him, for they were dismayed at his presence. Let's stop right there. Dismayed might be a little bit of a mild term for what was going on with them. They have a holy terror now sitting upon them. Here is the brother that they sold into captivity out of sheer malice, told their father that they at least hinted that he had died to being ripped apart by some wild animal. They didn't hold any love at all in their hearts for Joseph. Not really. And here we go. He's the most powerful person in their entire world. And he has said, "Surprise, I'm Joseph." Yeah, they're dismayed, okay. They're thinking they're dead meat at this moment. They are very troubled. And that has to last for a little while, right? There's going to have to be some disarming done by Joseph. I also find it interesting that he says, "I'm Joseph. Is my father still alive?" So true, I think, to the picture of Jesus, Joseph being our picture, our type, our shadow of Jesus, his first thought is the Father. Is my father well? Is he still alive? Just a bit of a foreshadow there, I think. That he chased out all of the Egyptians. That also reminds me of post-resurrection Jesus, when he only reveals himself to those who professed a love for him. Only those who loved Jesus saw Jesus after the resurrection. That at least is written down. That's the only accounts we have. Those who loved him saw him. Everyone else kind of just basked in the bliss of their ignorance over, well, we got rid of the Messiah. And that's all they ever knew, except for the testimony of those who loved him. That's kind of going on here in this story. The Egyptians are out of the room. They're not going to get to see the reveal. We just heard, though, that the brothers didn't really love him, but they were family and he loved them. So I find a connection there. It may not be a perfect picture, Let's keep going. Verse 4. So Joseph said to his brothers, "Come near to me, please." And they came near, and he said, "I am your brother Joseph, whom you sold into Egypt. And now do not be distressed or angry with yourselves, because you sold me here. For God sent me before you to preserve life." That's number one. God sent me. First time he said it. "For the famine has been in the land for these 2 years, and there are yet 5 years in which there will be neither plowing nor harvest." Interesting numbers. We're 2 years in, there's 5 remaining. Verse 7. "And God sent me before you." That's number 2. "God sent me before you to preserve you, a remnant on earth, and to keep alive for you many survivors." I'm going to follow this up at the end, so hang with me. We're going to go and take a look at another passage that really, to me, is reminiscent of this. So verse 8. "So it was not you who sent me here, but God." Number 3, he's just reaffirming. Wasn't your fault. I know you had bad intentions, but you were not being in control, okay? God was in control. "It wasn't you who sent me here, but God. He has made me a father to Pharaoh, the Lord of all his house, and ruler over the land of Egypt." I want to stop right there and address this before I get past it. He has made me a father to Pharaoh. I've read a bit about that because it caught my attention. Really, was Joseph a father to Pharaoh, or did Pharaoh make Joseph a father over the land, over the nation, becoming then a father to Pharaoh, for Pharaoh? I don't know really, unless Pharaoh was a boy here. And there's no way to know how old Pharaoh was. But unless Pharaoh was a boy, and sometimes pharaohs were boys, then that wouldn't make sense, making Joseph a father to Pharaoh. It's something to think about. Is it possible? Yes. Is it probable? I would say probably not. I think we might be losing something in the translation here. But it is possible. So verse 9, "Hurry and go up to my father and say to him, 'Thus says your son Joseph, God has made me Lord of all Egypt. Come down to me, do not tarry.'" Another interesting verse, because we see the ups and the downs. "Hurry and go up to my father and say to him, come down to Egypt." It's always going down into Egypt, up to the father. That's very, again, reminiscent of New Covenant speech, where the Father is always ascended, and below is where we reside. Of course, come down to us. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come. Thy kingdom come from there down to us on earth as it is in heaven. So I like the directional speech here very much. I think that's really interesting. Come down to me, don't tarry. Verse 10, "You shall dwell in the land of Goshen, and you shall be near me, you and your children and your children's children and your flocks and your herds and all that you have." And that's one that I think I tried. Highlight. You shall be near me. We're going to follow up on that one. Verse 11. "There I will provide for you, for there are yet 5 years of famine to come, so that you and your household and all that you have do not come to poverty." So they're going to live in the land of Goshen. We're going to find out from Pharaoh himself that this is the fat of the land. This is always the best of Egypt, is Goshen. It's in the delta. It's always green, even in times of famine. It's green. Things will grow in the delta of the Nile, even when things aren't growing anywhere else. And we also learn in Egypt that this is a bit of a place that has a bubble over it, because when the plagues begin to happen, none of the plagues affect Goshen. We have a town very near us named Goshen, and it's a beautiful place. I can only imagine how beautiful Goshen must have been in that day. All right, so there's 5 years yet to come. Verse 12. And now your eyes see, and the eyes of my brother Benjamin see, that it's my mouth that speaks to you. He's saying, you're recognizing me now, and I'm identifying by picking out my own brother, my own full brother, Benjamin. You know that it's me. If it weren't me, if it was some imposter here, I wouldn't even know to pick out Benjamin. All right? You must tell my father of all my honor in Egypt and of all that you have seen. Hurry and bring my father down here. Then he fell upon his brother Benjamin's neck and wept, and Benjamin wept upon his neck. And he kissed all his brothers and wept upon them. After that, his brothers talked with him. Okay, we don't know how much time has gone by here, but this probably took some time. After that, his brothers would talk with him. So it takes a while for him to disarm their fear of being completely under the retribution, I guess, of a spiteful brother that they mistreated. Verse 16, when the report was heard in Pharaoh's house, Joseph's brothers have come. It pleased Pharaoh and his servants. And Pharaoh said to Joseph, say to your brothers, do this, load your beasts and go back to the land of Canaan. And take your father and your households and come to me, and I will give you the best of the land of Egypt, and you shall eat the fat of the land. And here we go. The fat is the very best of the land. I know that in our culture, the fat is oftentimes what we throw away. In that culture, especially in that day of complete food insecurity, the fat was rare. It was the king's portion. And to be granted the fat of the land was typically reserved for royalty. All right, so they are being treated absolutely as royalty here. All right, so you get the fat of the land. Where are we at? Verse 19. And you, Joseph, are commanded to say, do this, take wagons from the land of Egypt for your little ones and for your wives, and bring your father, and come. Have no concern for your goods, for the best of all the land of Egypt is yours. I really like this because we're getting a bit of a type and shadow, and it's totally a mixed picture. We've got Pharaoh in the picture, and he is saying to Joseph, you are going to treat your family, those who are of you, you are going to treat them top notch. You are going to treat them as my own. Pharaoh has almost stepped into the role of God the Father here, speaking to Jesus the Son. All of those that are in you, I am going to take care of, and they will have the very best. That's a long-term blessing, right? And he says, have no concern for your goods, because you get the best that Egypt can offer you. Have no concern for your goods. That's like what Jesus said, take no concern for what you'll eat or drink, because the Father knows you need that. Just seek the kingdom first, and everything you need will be added to you. He says, seek not for yourself silver and gold, but lay up for yourself treasures in heaven, right? That's very much the vibe of this. Pharaoh says, don't bother to bring everything you have, like someone who is poor might do if they were being forced to relocate. They just bring everything. Don't worry about that. He says, leave the cheap stuff. We're going to replace it all. I love the picture. I love the picture there. All right, verse 21. And the sons of Israel did so. And Joseph gave them wagons according to the command of Pharaoh, and gave them provisions for the journey. To each and all of them he gave a change of clothes, but to Benjamin he gave 300 shekels of silver and 5 changes of clothes. All right, we gotta address that. Benjamin, the full brother, oh man, how would you even say that? He's He is the most immediate family, if you will. A joint heir. That's how we would say it, almost. A joint heir. So he gets 300 shekels of silver. I wonder how the other brothers took that. I wonder if they even cared. They're probably on such a high cloud right now because, one, they get to present their father with good news for once. Good news. And they're not in prison. Or worse. You know, they're probably okay with this. 300 shekels of silver. Pretty good amount. But look at the numerology there. 300. There are some that would say the 100 isn't important. Look at the 3, or the 30. There's always links to other important numbers in Scripture, right? The 30 shekels of silver, 300 shekels, and 5 changes of clothes. 5 being the number of what? Grace, you could say, from a new covenant standpoint. So he's showing extreme grace to his full brother. It's pretty cool. He must have had just an amazing relationship with his brother before he was sold off into Egypt, because he is sure pouring out love on his brother right now, on Benjamin. Remember, Benjamin was the one that in childbirth, his mother passed away. Rachel passed away, okay? All right, so let's go to 22. To each and all of them he gave a change of clothes. Okay, Benjamin he gave 300 shekels and 5 changes of clothes. Verse 23, to his father he sent as follows: 10 donkeys loaded with the good things of Egypt. So he's going to send all this stuff down there, and then they're all going to pack up and bring it all back. 10 female donkeys loaded with grain, bread, and provision for his father on the journey. Well, that makes sense. Then he sent his brothers away, and as they departed, he said to them, don't quarrel on the way. That sounds a bit like us, doesn't it? Don't quarrel. You're going to have a lot of things to talk about, and you're going to end up arguing. I know you. And we do that. Jesus leaves, and the church starts splitting off into all these different sects, all these different sections and denominations and divisions, and we're all arguing about what Jesus said and how we're supposed to go about fulfilling the command. And Joseph knew that was going to happen. They're going to start quarreling. Well, you know, if you'd listened to me, we would have never sold him off in the first place. That type of stuff. So that's pretty funny. So verse 25, so they went up out of Egypt and came to the land of Canaan to their father Jacob. Again, they're going up out of Egypt. How the writer continually keeps this straight. He never seems to miss it. If they're leaving, they're going up. If they're coming, they're going down. Joseph is still alive, and he is ruler over all the land of Egypt. And his heart, Jacob's heart, became numb, for he did not believe them. But when they told him all the words of Joseph, which he had said to them, and when he saw the wagons that Joseph had sent to carry him, the spirit of their father Jacob revived. And Israel said, it is enough. Joseph, my son is still alive. I will go and see him before I die. We told, I think it was last chapter, we were talking about Judah, how Judah had taken the reins as leader and certainly as the figurehead that would see the blessing come through Judah. The scepter shall not depart Judah. I think that's in chapter 50. But he had changed to the point where Judah had broken the cycle of deceit. It's almost like when Israel said, it's enough, Joseph, my son, is still alive. We're waiting for the hammer to fall, right? We're waiting for the punchline. Oh, no, just kidding. He's not really alive. It's another joke. It's another cruel hoax, because all of his life, Jacob has been a deceiver, and he's been surrounded by deceivers. And deception has been nothing but a part of their story until, it seems, Judah breaks the cycle in the last chapter, chapter 44. So let's take a look here at John at a prayer Jesus is praying in John chapter 17. John 17. I think my highlights are messed up for sure, don't you think? I'm getting half and half. So let's just start here. Now they know everything that you have given me is from you. That's what we kept seeing Joseph say to his brothers. Everything that's happened to me is because of God. And Jesus is praying out loud so that his guys can hear him. He's saying, now they know that everything that you've given me is from you. For I have given them the words that you gave me, and they have received them and have come to know in truth that I came from you, and that they have believed that you sent me. Very reminiscent, again, of Joseph in verse 24. Father, I desire that they also, whom you have given me, may be with me where I am, to see my glory that you have given me, because you loved me before the foundation of the world. Depending on your translation there, may say that they may be where I am, they may be with me also. That reminds me again of Joseph saying, I want you here with me. Okay? This whole chapter, John 17, we're not going to study the chapter, but read it when you have a moment. Just read through John 17 and see how many things remind you of Genesis 45. Well, I hope you enjoyed that. That's a great chapter. I enjoyed the big reveal. I don't know that it could have been any more dramatic without just going overboard on it, but you can imagine what those 10, 11 brothers must have felt when seeing this bald guy dressed like Pharaoh say, it's me, I'm Joseph, I'm your brother. Just terror must have befallen them. Complete sheer terror. I would be petrified had it been me. I mean, I would have kissed everything I'd known dear goodbye at that point and just given up. But it worked out, right? And there probably is a picture there too, because at some point we all stand before Jesus, and depending on your relationship with him, I can see how many might just be petrified. And what is he going to say? Well, I think for the great many, he's going to say, hey, I know you. You may not know me as well as you would like to know me, but it is me, and I do love you. Don't be afraid. That's what I'm envisioning. Chapter 45 is very reminiscent of Jesus talking to his people, and his people we're a flaky bunch sometimes, right? We're a fearsome bunch, and we know what we've done. We are all guilty, right? So, yep, hope you enjoyed that. I did. It's hot. I'm going to air this room out and get some AC going in here. So you guys have a blessed week, and I will see you very, very soon. Peace.